I do think that the most just way for this to end is if Garcia and Donald Trump were to switch places. I know it may not feel like it some days, most days, let's be honest, but thank God the internet is not completely filled with red hat wearing crayon eaters. Which, fair warning, by the way, if you are one of those people, you might want to click off this video because I'm about to destroy your dipshit president for getting caught photoshopping his own Orwellian propaganda, and I don't think you're going to like it. I know you may not understand those words, but now's kind of the time to go back to eating Play-Doh or yelling at the new Snow White on Disney+, whatever you guys do in your free time. And this here is the most egregious example that we'll get to in a second because there's a lot to unpack here, but internet sleuths found that Donald Trump and his regime had photoshopped MS-13 onto a picture of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's hand, which is not real. That is not a real image. And we'll get to the crux of that controversy in just a second. But if I could just quickly ask you to drop a like, double check that you're subscribed. Thank you guys for helping us reach 500,000 subscribers. We really appreciate you, and it means the world to us. Now, the sad, pathetic starting point of this whole story comes from yesterday, where the White House and Donald Trump actually posted another altered image, this of a New York Times headline that you can see here. It'll show up a little bit more clearly in just a second, where Trump took a New York Times article that says Senator meets with wrongly deported Maryland man in El Salvador, where they cross out the word wrongly and insert MS-13 illegal alien instead of Maryland man, and then they add at the end, who's never coming back. Like I said, like Ministry of Truth level 1984 straight George Orwell crap. Also not the first we've seen, which is sad and pathetic as well. Like the White House and their social medias have posted many pictures like this that are just disgusting, anti-American, completely unpatriotic. Really makes you feel like you're in a third world country. But fortunately, first here we had absolute superstar from the Democratic Party, Jasmine Crockett, going on to push back and blast Trump. And we'll dive into that picture I showed you earlier that Trump posted today, doubling down on this whole thing and how it went completely viral for all the wrong reasons and backfired on him spectacularly.
He has no intentions of bringing Abrego Garcia back to America. I mean, check out what was posted on X yesterday by the official White House account.
One of my colleagues actually put this post up in a group chat, and I was like, okay, this isn't real, right? Because it was just a picture. And then she was like, no, it's absolutely real. And I was like, who are we and where are we living and who is running this country? Because the level of childness that we saw in this post, but also just the level of cruelty and the level of admission that we've seen, right? I mean, we know that they admitted that they were wrong. Now they're trying to double back and say, well, he's this terrible person and all this kind of stuff. But here's the reality. As far as I'm concerned, he's a lot less criminal than the person that's sitting in the White House. Because last time I checked, he doesn't have any criminal convictions. I don't even think he has any outstanding cases versus the guy that still had cases pending when he was sworn in on January 20th and also has 34 felony convictions. So listen, I don't want to hear anything from the Republican Party about how they're trying to keep us safe when their fearless leader is actually the biggest criminal thus far that we have seen, because I haven't seen anybody with a rap sheet that looks like the president's.
Right, and speaking of criminality, lies, and deception, I guess the president got one of his Doge interns to hop on Photoshop for him, because what is a lie, right, if you don't have fake Photoshopped, quote-unquote, evidence to back it up? Trump went on to Truth Social this morning, posted this, saying, this is the hand of the man that the Democrats feel should be brought back to the United States because he is such a fine and innocent person. They said he is not a member of MS-13, even though he's got MS-13 tattooed on his knuckles, and two highly respected courts found that he was a member of MS-13, beat up his wife, etc. I was elected to take bad people out of the United States, among other things. Weird phrasing. I must be allowed to do my job. I'm not even going to say that last part. I would be happy if he were to deport himself or other people that are criminals and making this country worse, but I don't think that's going to happen. Here's a closer shot of that image. I'm going to zoom in on it real quick. So you can see here, the picture is of Kilmar Abrego Garcia's hand, and the letter M, the letter S, and the numbers 13 are put over his fist. which are obviously not there. Those are not on his fist. You can see from these other images here, that is not what his hand looks like. That does not have those on there. Not at all, in fact. Unfortunately, this is spreading all over MAGA media. Some people on the left are pushing back. Someone said, hey, old man, at Real Donald Trump, have someone teach you about Photoshop. This is an excellent example of altering a photo, in this case, to make your illegal actions look good, but instead you look foolish. Now, some people in the MAGA sphere are arguing that this is not photoshopped per se, right? They're just trying to point out that this was instead a juxtaposition by law enforcement to explain that the marijuana leaf on his first finger was an M, the smiley face was an S, the cross was a 1. Don't know where you get that fucking leap of faith from, but okay. And the skull with 2 eyes and 1 mouth is 3. What are we doing here? Put your helmet back. No, sir. Stocking milk coffee. I think you need your helmet, you dipshit. I'm sorry, folks. I misspoke earlier. This guy obviously upgraded from eating crayons and Play-Doh to sniffing markers. And someone responded to that post saying they typically don't hide it. They just rep it. There's no mistake about it. You're being lied to. Not to mention that all the stuff Trump said in that True Social post, all those accusations he made about him are completely false, made up. These people are incomprehensibly stupid. You know what? Seeing as these MAGA idiots only learn when something happens to them, maybe it's time we Photoshop MS-13 tattoos onto the hands of maggots who go to Trump rallies, who post about it, who post their images online. And then we send them to the Gestapo and say, hey, this guy's a criminal. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. Maybe then they'll realize, like, oh, wow, this isn't going to stop at undocumented people. This isn't going to stop at people who I hate, because they only care when it happens to them. So maybe it's time they fucking find out. Just a hypothetical, obviously. I'm not a piece of shit like these people. But okay, rant over. At least the internet has come together to expose this. I wanted to say win the day, but we haven't. Garcia is still in a hellhole in El Salvador. Actually, you know, the way I'll end this video, and by all means, please like, subscribe. You can click off if you want, but we do appreciate you guys. I do think that the most just way for this to end is if Garcia and Donald Trump were to switch places, right? Because as Crockett said, that man has far more criminal offenses than probably, I want to say most, maybe some of the people that were unjustly deporting without due process. If you made it this far, drop an FDJT in the chat or a blue heart, whatever you have to your liking. Sorry for cussing so much. If that turns you off, I apologize. But this shit turns me off. Anyway, I'm Kenny Hesse, but really American. I'll see you guys in the next one.